Hello and welcome to the Analysys Mason podcast. I'm Tom Rebbeck and I'm here with Paul Jevons. Today we're going to be talking about mergers, specifically mobile mergers, and taking it from a transformation angle. Paul, I understand you're the right person to talk to. You've been involved in a few of these sort of deals.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. I've been involved in mobile mergers both on the client side. So I have a background in industry, so I've been involved in some sort of telco mergers within the UK market. You know, having been in those businesses and part of the management team actually responsible for delivering the integration. And I've also got experience from the consulting side, helping clients actually go through that transformation and that integration journey. So I do have a perspective from both sides.
Okay, great. So we're going to take this sort of chronologically through a sort of hypothetical deal, going through the different stages of a merger. And we're going to be thinking not just about the parties directly involved, but obviously other companies, other competitors also get impacted when there's a merger. So we'll be thinking about those as well as we go through. But let's start pre-deal. What should the different parties be thinking about? What should they keep in mind?
Obviously, the focus of that pre-deal phase is very much around the value opportunity, where are the synergies, what can be delivered. But from a transformation and integration perspective, it's really important that there's sufficient energy and focus put into what needs to be true and what needs to be believed as achievable at an integration layer, so that the benefits that appear on an Excel spreadsheet can actually be realized for the customers, for the internal business, or for the shareholders. You know, there's a real focus needed on the actual integration strategy.
Yeah.
You know, so actually what is the approach we're going to take to integration? How much of an integration are we going to do? And obviously there's usually multiple brands and different networks and that side of things. But then actually what is the transformation requirements in terms of the cost of delivery, the resource to delivery? How do we do the benefits? And all of that actually can have a material impact on the value in a business case. So you need to get quite a lot of detail resolved, even in the early concept stage, when you're thinking about actually what is the shape of this deal that we want, right the way through to as you take it into negotiation before you sign the deal. You kind of need to know actually how much of this theoretical synergy and value can we deliver? When can we deliver it? How long will it take to deliver? And what can we deliver early? And then you get into some of the people side of organization design and how you're going to communicate it, the processes that you're going to integrate, and then the digital and technical data side of an integration.
And is there anything that's typically overlooked at that stage? Or is the whole, because you're saying that you should have a strategy, even before you agree a deal, you agree a price, you should have a strategy for what the integration process should look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the most common issue is the integration strategy is not detailed enough, and there are quite loose assumptions made about what it will take to deliver the integration and how long it will take, the resources, and the impact on the business.
You make those loose assumptions up front and then somebody later on has to live with them.
Yes, because you're often dealing with companies that have been under a lot of commercial pressure. Yeah. They're doing synergies to release value into the market. They're quite often very lean organizations who may be CapEx or cash constrained. Right. And all of a sudden you're asking them to do something else on top of running the business.
On top of the day job.
Yeah.
And they're merging often for a reason. And there's lots of commercial pressure, and that's kind of why they're merging in the first place. Let's go to the next stage then of our hypothetical deal. It's been agreed, valuation, all of that's been agreed, but the terms you haven't finalized, you haven't got the regulatory approval and so on. Now, in this stage, there's sort of limitations to what the two merging parties can talk about, what they can discuss. So what should they be doing? What should they be focusing on?
You're absolutely right. There's usually going to be a period waiting for regulatory approval in that sort of sign to close. So they will have agreed the deal, but now you're waiting for regulatory approval. During that phase, the most important thing to do is you can really only plan. You can't start executing, obviously. Yeah. But that planning can include how are you going to mobilize what we would refer to as your integration management office. How are you going to, when you get regulatory approval, how are you actually going to switch this on day one? And you can do an element of mobilization in very sort of in a pre-planning stage. You can definitely plan the communication. You can be thinking about some of your talent retention, and talent issues, because what you want to do is retain the best talent in the business, and you need a strategy for doing that so that you can move quite quickly.
Yeah.
From a process perspective, again, it's planning to that next level of detail. Which processes are we going to adopt for the new business? We're going to have a new process. We're going to go left, or we're going to go right. And what is that detailed target operating model going to be? You've done a high level operating model in terms of functions, headcount, etc. But then you need to get down to that next level of detail so that on day one, you're ready.
Right.
Quite often also, there will be open items in the contracting side of things around the transition service arrangement. So the relationships between shareholders and who's providing what services. And you need to
particularly, I guess, when there's a parent company involved.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a group organization.
Because there are dependencies to group organizations. And so, there will be services that group organizations provide into the companies that are integrating.
Yeah.
And there's a transition period after close where they'll still need some of that support, and you need to bottom out the details of that.
Okay. We're mostly focusing there on the companies that are merging, but also this impacts the others. So what can the other, if we say it's a 4-3 merger, you've got 2 other mobile operators in a market, should they be doing in this period before that merger goes ahead? How should they be thinking? How should they be planning?
Well, I think the impact is on multiple levels in some ways. Obviously, depending on the market and the merger, they may need to prepare for whatever remedies or constraints a regulator puts on it. And that would normally be handled through the sort of the strategy and the transaction itself. But one of the other impacts that you can see is the broader impact on supply chain, because when you've got 2 large companies coming together and you're going to do an integration, they've each got a full stack of capabilities, possibly with different suppliers.
Right.
And so one of those suppliers might be looking to
lose out. Yeah.
Somebody could be losing a large contract. And so within that whole supply chain, you can start to see sort of knock-on impacts and different behaviors that are driving suppliers to behave in different ways. That can be both a risk and an opportunity to everybody else in the market. Suppliers are looking to secure and safeguard their future revenue.
Because they may know they're going to lose out on one of the merger deals, so they're going to be paying more attention to the other.
So then it's a question where they're going to look for new business, where are they going to make sure they don't lose any other business, what's their pricing strategy going to be, what does it mean from a simple resourcing perspective. There'd be an interesting one about talent acquisition, because
it's always a leaky time, right?
It can be a leaky time because there's a level of uncertainty. And so I think that it's across all of that sort of that supply chain, that sort of industry footprint, talent, and what might the impact be. Just thinking through some of that, because there'll be risks and opportunities at those different levels.
Yeah, it's interesting, because obviously there's a thought about what this do to the market and competition and pricing and so on, but there are all those other things that you don't necessarily think of straight away.
And if a company knows that they are likely to lose a bit of business because they're going to lose a client, that actually may drive a behavior to...
They might be more aggressive, I guess.
They might be more aggressive. Or they might be looking to recover that margin with their other customer base.
Right.
So again, there's that.
It could go either way.
Could go either way, depending on, is it a risk or is it an opportunity? So depending on the other context in the market, there's an opportunity for the other players to go, either I need to protect myself, I need to act quickly, or actually this is an opportunity for me. And it could be an opportunity for the supplier as well, on that relationship in terms of, let's secure this business for a longer period of time with better terms. There's that side of things. Some of these mobile mergers also work on the basis that there's some sort of big structural change, network rollout, for example, network consolidation, and it might be network investment. There you have a dedicated, a supply chain in the market. The people who build towers, pour concrete and steel, and actually put that's a limited workforce. And so actually, if you suddenly put a disruptive element into that, is that workforce going to be available to everybody else, or are they going to focus? So there's other sort of supply chain type impact.
Okay. Let's move to the final stage then. Our deal it's been closed. It's all moving ahead. What should be the focus? And equally, what can wait? What should be the focus for the first period?
Absolute focus is business continuity.
Right.
It's always good, in addition to that, to give some customer benefit on day one. Make it mean something for your customer base, because again, there are huge market variations, customers, brand loyalty, those dynamics. As soon as things happen, if there's a negative change, then people will consider their contractual relationship. So it's always good to say, fundamentally, it's business continuity. Then it's actually, can we deliver some immediate value to make it make sense for the customers?
So an example of that could be, I guess, giving them coverage across the two networks. From
Absolutely.
Day,
so we've seen that in two instances in the UK. The first thing that gets offered is effectively roaming and better coverage. Actually,
there's an obvious benefit.
There's an obvious benefit for that, and I was like, okay, it's a good thing, not a bad thing. I'll stay calm. I'm not going to suddenly start researching the best option because my brand relationship is still secure. So you've got your business continuity and your customer benefit. Then it's about the quick wins, because there are usually some quick wins that you can achieve without impacting the first two when two large organizations come together. But that requires a bit of focus, which you have planned for. So in the pre-deal, you've planned for, here are the quick wins. We know we can consolidate here, switch this off, make this change. That helps with actually realizing some value earning. That obviously has beneficial impacts on resource, cash flow, CapEx, keeps your shareholders happy.
Gives them a bit of confidence.
Gives them a confidence you're going to do it. And then there's the planning for the longer term, longer lead time items. So some of the big system changes, the data migrations, the system integrations, they take longer. So what you want to do is you want to give yourself time to plan those really well and make sure you're delivering them well. You should have done them, but we've seen a number of times where that planning comes quite late and you go, oh, actually, we can't do this before that. We need to do it the other way around. That delays it 6 months. That delays the benefit 6 months. And you go, oh, actually, that
has a knock-on effect.
It has a knock-on effect on everything else. So you really want to have those dependencies. The quick wins, you want to bank those, give everyone confidence, and demonstrate internal capability as well as to your shareholders. But then you're into very, very careful data migration, doing all the testing, the stabilization, the cutover planning, and being really clear on what KPIs are you tracking. When you set about doing this, there will have been a set of KPIs. You go, how will we know we're being successful from an integration perspective? I think one of the topics that's often overlooked is the impact on the business. So not just from a business continuity perspective, put crudely, don't break anything, but you've got two organizations who are busy trading. They're doing, they're actively
still going as they
were. They're doing product enhancements, feature enhancements. They're launching stuff. And there's a little bit of, when you lay an integration over the top of that, you don't have the capacity and the capability to do it all. So there'll be a little bit, which you should have planned for, of actually, we're going to take all of these things off the roadmap.
Right.
We're going to secure the integration because that's of more long-term value than some of these
short-term tactical
things. And that's a really difficult balance. And so you need to make sure you've got the right governance in place at the right level so that you're managing it at the executive team level, not too federated too soon. Is how I would describe it.
Okay, just briefly as we wrap, one or two main messages from all of this.
I think it's get your integration strategy lined up early and understand how you're going to govern and control the integration plan on top of the business. Don't underestimate the stakeholder management and the leadership buy-in that you require. And it's taking that integrated approach, not just on a deal that's an Excel spreadsheet, really understanding the people, the process, the digital and data aspects, right the way from planning and mobilization through to delivery.
Okay, great. Finally, we started off you talking about some of these deals that you've been involved in the past. So why Analysys Mason? Why were we well placed to help with these mobile mergers?
I think, the real added value for Analysys Mason, yes, there are people like myself who've seen it on both camps, but you get from Analysys Mason people who really understand the deal, because we've got an incredible history of mergers and acquisitions and the whole transaction financing where the value is. We also really understand the mobile market from our research and our strategy perspective, which is what are the value drivers within a market? What really is the value chain of a mobile operator, and actually where is it under stress? Where is there opportunity for growth? So we understand the transaction. We understand how mobile operators work. And with the transformation experience, we understand how to deliver change in a mobile business, because we've been helping mobile operators with all sorts of, not just integrations, separations, etc., but we also do other operating model work. We do a lot of IT systems transformation.
Yeah.
So we understand the reality of getting stuff done, which then plays back to we understand what you need to plan for, where the pitfalls are going to be. So we can add all of those three things together, which I think is a unique combination for what we can help clients with.
Very good. Thank you, Paul.
No, thank you.
Thank you for listening. If you'd like to automatically receive future episodes, please subscribe to the Analysys Mason podcast. We also welcome any comments or feedback. Thank you.